Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 10 at Saratoga on Saturday. It's the Grade 1 Alabama. 3-year-old fillies going the classic distance of 1.25 miles. Let's take a look at this field. $600,000 is the purse. The bad news is we won't have Torpedo Anna. She's going in the Travers. The good news is, without Torpedo Anna, this is a much more competitive race and a better betting race.
Yeah, it probably is. Although I will say, and listen, it opens things up with Torpedo Anna not in here because she would just have been too hard to go against, I think, Dan. But I still think we have a legit favorite and a clear horse to beat here in the number 7, Candied. She's 7-5 on the morning line, and I think deservedly so.
She is one of two in here trained by Todd Pletcher, and she finished second to Torpedo Anna last time out in the coaching club. Let's take a look at our time form US pace projector. These fillies going to go 1.25 miles, and Miss Justify should show at least some tactical speed. This is the other Pletcher train runner. Of course, he conditions the 7, Candied. She's stretching out past a mile for the first time in her career. She has shown speed at that distance, but I do wonder, Mike, if Frankie Dettori is going to take the bull by the horns with the 2 Chatalas. Those tactics worked last time out in the Indiana Oaks.
They seem like the two likeliest candidates to go forward in here, Dan. I don't know which one will make the lead. Although I did think the 6, Miss Justify, would be forward in this race as she stretches out and goes around 2 turns here. One of those 2 will be on the front. The other one's going to be right up close. I think the number 1, Intricate, is going to be much closer to the pace this time than she was in the CCA Oaks last time.
Intricate was a graded stakes winner as a 2-year-old at Churchill Downs, and her first start at 3 was really good. A career best Beyer performance, albeit over a wet track in the Rachel Alexandra. Now, she hasn't run back to that Beyer just yet, but she's kept some pretty good competition. 2 starts back facing the underrated Our Pretty Woman, and then last time out in the coaching club, sort of falling behind on the second turn, and then basically only a mild re-rally against Torpedo Anna and Candied. So she's going to have to pick it up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is worth pointing out, you mentioned that she was a graded stakes winner as a 2-year-old. She beat Torpedo Anna that day. I think she's the only filly to have beaten Torpedo Anna. A little bit fortuitous that day to win, but still, she ran a good race. Dan, I didn't think she ran that well in the CCA Oaks. That pace was legitimate, so her being last, to me, didn't seem like it was any kind of a big deal. And it's not like she made some kind of big run in that race. I was pretty disappointed in her performance. That being said, I thought she ran an underrated race 2 starts back. That was a pretty good performance. She's better than the CCA Oaks. Does that make her, one of the major players? And I'm not sure, but I feel like she's an interesting horse if she stays around that 6-1 morning line, because I do think she's pretty good.
Chatalas was a graded stakes winner at 2 as well out in Southern California. She took the Chandelier, and then in her most recent start, she got back on the beam. This is the Indiana Oaks at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, and she got a really nice trip for the most part. She was able to shake loose on a moderate pace. She's confronted here, though, an upper stretch, Mike, by some sharp horses. The runner-up would come back to finish 3rd in the Grade 3 Monmouth Oaks with an 85 Beyer. She refuses to lose.
Yeah, the runner-up got Beyer here in the stretch, too. And this horse is going to have to dig in really gamely to fight back and get the job done. I guess she ran fine in there, Dan. It was certainly a forward mover. I'm not thrilled with that race overall. But listen, she was first off the layoff there, so maybe she needed it. And now she's a lot fitter for this one.
Power Squeeze, the number 3, just continues to be underrated. If you take out her races against Torpedo Anna, the Kentucky Oaks, a solid 3rd in the Acorn, you're left with a filly that's won 5 in a row, beating a horse like Ways and Means down at Gulfstream, who of course won the test earlier this summer. And one of her great attributes is not only that she likes to win, but she really tries hard in all her races, including this effort. The Grade 3 Delaware Oaks run in 100-degree heat, and Power Squeeze is going to make a run on the outside in tandem with the Bilmont-trained Sitamara, who unfortunately missed this race to illness. It looks like Sitamara is going to have the momentum at about the 16th pole, but Power Squeeze, like Chatalas did in our prior video, keeps finding more.
Yeah, she just digs in here and barely holds on. She did go to a wrong lead there right at the end, but she managed to hold on. She's an underrated horse. She's a really game horse. She can carry her run a long way, which I really appreciate. Are we concerned about the 1.25 miles for Dan? I'm a little concerned about the 1.25 miles for her.
Just Basking is the number 4, a lightly raced daughter of Arrogate, trained by Ian Wilkes, and she's already succeeded at 1.25 miles, graduating at Churchill Downs in her 3rd lifetime start. Her most recent race, however, was by far her best performance. Here's the Iowa Oaks at Prairie Meadows, and she settled back in last early, was very confidently handled on the turn, made a 4-wide bid off of cover just inside the quarter pole, and it's off to the races. If you believe that she is now a 90 buyer horse, far and away this 90 buyer speed figure, the best in her career, then she's a contender at a price.
I agree. She looked really good winning this race. She always looked like she was going to win. She finally did take that forward move on figures that you kind of wanted to see from her, Dan. She also, it's worth noting, you always have to sort of keep this in the back of your mind somewhere. She did it without Lasix for the first time. And of course, these horses can't run on Lasix in here. I just thought she looked really good in there. I like all of her dirt races. She's already won at 1.25 miles. She finishes strong in all of her races. I think she's a serious contender.
The 5 America's Vow is going to jump back up into the stakes ranks after a victory in a first level allowance. This race at Saratoga going 1 1/8 miles. A lot of weird things happened in this race. One horse got stuck in the gate and really never got out, was declared a non-starter. And America's Vow took advantage. At 35-1, she showed tactical speed to sit off the leader, and she keeps right on rolling to win.
Yeah, I mean, she certainly took advantage in this race because there were things going on early. Not only was there a non-starter that didn't get out of the gate, but the favorite beat the gate at the start, broke through it, and was ultimately disqualified, but didn't run that well. She was the longest shot on the board, Dan, in that race by a very long way, but she didn't really look like it during the running. I mean, she actually ran pretty well, and it was the best race of her life.
Miss Justify has really looked good since stretching out to middle distances for trainer Todd Pletcher. She's 2 for 2 at 1 mile, a 1-turn event at Churchill, and then out of the chute last time out in this race, the Wilton. What I liked about this race is she was able to stay within range on the inside as the pace heated up. She also had a very good trip, saving ground every step and getting by this leader in the final 8th. Now she has to stretch out 1.25 miles as she attempts to emulate Randomized, who won the Wilton last year, leading up to a successful Alabama run.
Yeah, that's right. She did get a good trip in this race with the rail being open, but as you've already pointed out, that pace was fast, and she kept within range and still had a pretty good finish in there. Another forward move. I liked her win 2 starts back when they got more aggressive with her. I liked her race last time where they were able to sit off of a fast pace and still finish up. I think she's pretty good, Dan. The distance is a big question.
The 7 Candied won the Grade 1 Alcibiades for Pletcher in only her second lifetime start, and then was a very close third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, all the while being very green seemingly in the stretch and racing on her left lead. She looked good in the Ladies' Secret 2 starts back at Monmouth. 99 buyer, she didn't change leads. Here's her final start before the Alabama, the Coaching Club American Oaks. She's no match for Torpedo Anna, but if you're looking for a small victory, she did change over to her right lead, and she stays on as easily second best.
Yeah, I thought she ran fine in here. She's no match for Torpedo Anna, but she runs fine in here. She's clearly second best in this race. It was another good performance. You could go back to the Ladies' Secret 2 back then, and I guess, quibble with the 99 buyer speed figure. Maybe it's a little high for that race. That being said, she faced a decent field of older fillies and mares there, and she galloped in that race. And she got out of the gate well, too, that's what I like about her 2 most recent starts more than anything else. She got out of the gate well at Monmouth. She got out of the gate well last time in the CCA Oaks. It feels like she's getting better with every start. I think she's way the horse to beat.
The only 2 fillies in the race with wins at 1.25 miles are both sired by Travers winner Arrogate, and the other one is the 8 Neon Icon, who looked really good winning her first 2 starts. I'm not sure what she beat in those races, but she did win second time out in an off-turf 1.25 mile first level allowance at Churchill Downs. Now, while she didn't run up to par last time out at Horseshoe Indianapolis, can you make the excuse that just the pace worked against her? She's more of a late running type.
I mean, I guess you could. You got to try to make some kind of an excuse for that race, because I just didn't think she ran well. Again, it's just one of those races, the Indiana Oaks, I just didn't think was that strong overall. And I certainly didn't like her performance in that race. It's also worth noting the Lasix was off there, and she was just a little bit dull and didn't run that well. I did like her first 2 starts, though, and she's another one. She's already won at 1.25 miles, Dan.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 Alabama. A little surprised we went with the 4 Just Basking. Really ran a fast race last time out. I'm hoping that was a breakout performance for the Ian Wilkes barn. And I think she's tactical enough that she could sort of settle in mid-pack and make a strong run. At least we know the distance isn't an issue.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the key to this race in a lot of ways. And the more I looked at Just Basking, Dan, she finishes all of her races like 1.25 miles is not going to be an issue for her. I'm not way against Candied. I think she's the clear horse to beat in here, but I'm gonna take a little shot against her with this horse.
I'm going to go 4, 7, 6, and 2. Just Basking as I want to use is the horse I want to use, perhaps to win at a nice price. Candied, Miss Justify are two horses I want to use in multiple race wagers. 4, 7, 1, 6 for Mike. 4, 7, 6, 2 for me. And the Grade 1 Alabama on Saturday at the Spa.